we must discuss the most important skill of all, the mother of all other skill sets: awareness. Are you aware? Aware of what? Aware of your surroundings, aware of your situation, aware of the conditions where you find yourself, aware of who you are and your capabilities and potential. Awareness of what you need right now, a self-diagnosis, and perhaps also awareness of what other people need at any given point, so that we can get towards our next destination. If you are not aware of your current situation and the environment in which you find yourself, you cannot progress to the next destination. A simple example of this is being at the mall. When you're at the mall and you have an important place to be at the mall, and you want to find that specific store so that you can buy that specific thing so that you can progress in whatever it is that you want to progress in, you must go to find a map. Most malls have this. And you find your map, and what is the most important point on that map? It is the red dot that tells you you are here. That, my friend, is awareness. So if we understand that that is the key to be able to progress in life, to progress in health, to progress in relationships, to progress in financials, to get whatever it is that you want out of life, we must practice awareness. We all need help. Personal development is a team sport. And the biggest problem in humanity is that we are not seeking out assistance. We're not seeking out help to solve whatever it is that we've got going on. Now, most of the time, the reason why we're not asking for help is that because most of the time people are only out for themselves. Now, for good reason, because you don't want to be taken advantage of. So no one wants to help out if they believe that this is going to be a lose-win of their attention being spent, of their, time is money, their time being spent where that was an opportunity cost that they could have spent elsewhere in order for them to progress in their lives, because we all got problems. So if we all have problems, it is tricky to take on other people's problems unless there's some form of a win-win situation going on there. You see the dichotomy going on? We do not ask anyone to help us with our problems. Maybe it's because we don't have money. Maybe it's because we think it's going to be expensive. Maybe we think this, that, and the other. But unless you've actually exhausted all the options, are you truly aware? We need each other. And the best people to ask are those that have gone through the exact same problem, and you need to find those people that had that problem before. Maybe you don't understand the solution that they've got. Maybe you don't understand how they can help you, but you know that they once upon a time felt the exact same way. In one of those three categories of life: health, relationship, and financials. And there's a lot of rich people, or well-off people, or better-off people that have gone through the poverty cycle. Tons of them. So this one is actually the easiest one to help people get out of. Weight loss is also pretty easy, right? Overcoming cancer, maybe a bit more difficult. Overcoming divorce and all of the issues that come with that, maybe more difficult. Getting over a breakup. There's tons of guys that have managed to be able to do that, right? So there's levels to this game. The harder and more difficult the problem, the more awareness is required. If the problem was simple, it would cease to exist very quickly because we'd find a solution to it. And it would be a cheap solution because everyone has the answers to it. But if the problem is difficult and complex, it costs more in order to solve it, and as a result needs more awareness, because that's all it is. If you only have the awareness to solve itty-bitty problems that anybody can solve, You're not putting yourself in a rare situation. You're not making yourself stand out amongst the crowd in terms of solving that specific problem or specific problems in general. If you're only solving, for example, packing grocery bags at Walmart, I don't even know if they do that still, but if that's the extent to the problem solving ability you have, then you're going to be paid accordingly. But at the moment you're able to solve more complex problems, like problems that have stuck around for years, or someone that doesn't want to be helped, that's a huge problem, then you're going to be paid more as a result of that. And that is only because of awareness. So there's 4 stages to competence. And I'll explain competence in a different video, the importance of it. But for now, let's go through the 4 stages of it and how it relates back to awareness, because awareness and competence is very much correlated. The first one is being unconsciously incompetent. This is where you have no idea what's going on. You're just problem stacking and moving on with your life as if nothing's happening. And yet you've got problems that could be easily solved. It's just that no one has told you that it is easily solved, or you're just simply unaware that the problem even exists because you either don't care about other people, or maybe you don't even care about yourself. You just move on with your life. Very bad situation, and we've got to get you out of there. And so you put in effort to actually get yourself out of the problem hole that you're in, and you move over to the consciously incompetent. This is where you actually understand that there is a problem, and it is painful, and you've realized that you've been a failure in that specific part of your life. You have to now put in more effort and not give up. Because if you give up here, your self-esteem is going to tank. You're not going to be able to progress to the next level because you gave up. A lot of people do that. Well, I'm just going to not do that. Sometimes, though, I gotta admit, you want to do that. Like, for example, I do not want to get good at cooking, as an example. I'm just not interested. There's other people on the planet that are just way more skilled and competent at cooking, and I just don't want to get into it. Same thing with ice hockey or any other sport that I'm not interested in. There's no reason for me to get really, really good at that, because that will diversify my efforts in something else. So I'm consciously aware that I suck in those sports, and I'm not going to do anything about it. So I'll stay there, right? But there are some things that you have to become good at, like people skills, for example, like money skills, for example, like health skills, for example, other than cooking, because you can delegate that to someone else if you got the financial skill to do so. The next one, if you refuse to fail in a specific part of your life, a specific category, you will now have become consciously competent. You now know that you are good at what you're doing, and you are aware of the circumstances that create success in that specific category. That awareness now has blessed your life, and you are now capable of moving continuously throughout life knowing that specific skill. Like, for example, riding a bike. Like, for example, driving. That's an amazing skill to have, because you are now aware of what's going on when you're on the roads, on your bike and in your car. The next level after that comes if you continuously are doing it again and again and again and again on rote replay. This is how I could literally kind of fall asleep at the wheel and still remain within the lines of the road. Okay, I've done that a few times when I was driving a lot and not sleeping much at night. Now, it's not very wise to do that, but at that point, I became unconsciously competent. I became so good at it that I could literally sleep and still drive safely and arrive home and be like, holy crap, did I just drive here? Like, what just happened? It could be that, but it could also be anything else of simply like maybe on the basketball court is my sport, right? Where I'm able to do things that other people are like, holy smoking crap. Like, how did he do that? It's the point in time where you can you're so aware of your surroundings and of your ability and of what's going on that you do things without thinking. It's on autopilot. You're that good. That is the optimal level that we want to get to in every single category of life that we want to succeed in. And you want to get to that point because then you can actually be in the present moment. Then you can be in your body and experience it and be totally present and totally aware, while being at the same time aware of the past and aware of the future. That's how powerful the now can become for you the more you become aware. Do you see now how this is the ultimate skill of them all? The mother of all skill sets is understanding awareness and how to develop it. So, how do you develop it? There's 3 steps to it. One is you must start today to develop the habits that are needed for you to succeed in that category. If you want to get to the number 100, but you can only progress by 1% at a time, 1% a day or a week or a month, whatever it is, you have to continuously put in that 1% over time. Every day, every week, every month, depending upon the time period and the growth abilities that are possible. If you practice the habit that you need to get good at and other people do not, you will over time become more aware of the small itty bitty different nuances to that situation that will allow you to be aware in that environment and aware of yourself and what you do and the thoughts that you have when you're invested in that specific habit. While the other people that are not practicing that habit don't understand what's going on, and as a result, they will fail when they try. And then they also stop trying once they fail. So you will have a massive advantage over those people because you continuously and consistently were improving in that thing. This is why it's so crucial that you don't pick a lot of skills to get good at. You only pick a few, preferably only one at a time. Imagine if you picked the most important skill on planet Earth and you just mastered that for 3 months. And you got to the point where it was so ingrained into who you are and your personality and your mindset and your environment. It's just ingrained in you. You now become part of the 1%ers or the 0.1%ers who have that as a habit. Now, there are some skill sets that are way more important than all the others, and we can discuss that another time. But an example of that is paying yourself first. That is a habit that if you do that, if you learn that skill, and most people have not learned that skill, you're going to massively progress in life. And my last 2 videos were on that subject. You have to learn to study that skill because it will change everything for you. That is an example of a habit that needs to be in place of one of the habits at a time. Do not develop 10 habits at a time because they won't become habits. And then it was just a waste of time. Unless you in the future choose one of those 10 habits and like, okay, this time I'm actually going to lock in. Become aware, hyper aware of that one habit. And then do it continuously and consistently for a long period of time. The second thing is to track your habit. And what do I mean by tracking it? Well, in many ways, that comes before the habit, but we can call number one selecting your habit, right? So once you've selected which habit to get good at, the second thing becomes tracking it. Tracking every single detail about that situation. What happened when I did this? What happened when I did that? How do you track it? Well, preferably you're going to have numbers, okay? I did it today. I did it the next day. I did it the next day. I did it the next day. That's 4 days in a row. Like, keep tracking it and have somewhere where you're noting down that you're actually, how your progress is. Have a notebook, right? Pen and paper, and track it, measure it. We treasure what we measure, and we should measure what we treasure. What is the consequence of tracking it or writing down in your journal? It is awareness. That's it. That's the only thing we're trying to actually put together here, is being aware of the situation. And number 3 is involve other people. I'm putting emphasis on this one because this is where most people fail. They choose the habit, which is not really wise, because how do you know which habit is the one that's most important in order for you to get to the next destination where you want to go to? You don't know that. Most probably, unless you've gone through and failed, and you've come to the point where you're now consciously incompetent. Okay, maybe you do know which habit is going to take you to the next destination that you want to get to. Then go ahead and get started, okay? Then you start tracking it. Wonderful. You've got your notebook to make yourself more aware. And then the last thing on this specific video that I'm explaining is involving other people. Now, in what way? Well, to help you select it, to help you track it and measure it, and maybe compete. And then lastly, for you to be reminded, because you forget. Why do we forget so easily? Because there's so many things happening on a daily basis. And how can it not be so many things happening to us on a daily basis? We pass hundreds of people every day. Maybe 1,000 if you live in the city. Okay? And as a result, there's so many impressions and so many new things happening in our lives that cause us to think about other things. And so unless you're reminded on a daily basis or on a continuous repeated basis, even if it's not daily, you are going to have a hard time installing that habit into your life and thereby becoming more aware of the process and more aware of how it works. If you have other people who've gone the way before you and can help you to understand and be more aware by reminding you and also instructing you on how to solve any problem or obstacle that you come against on the way to installing that habit, that's what's going to help you succeed. That's what's going to help you get to your next destination. This is the power of awareness, and I hope that you put this into practice immediately, because this is the new year. This is now, man. 2025 is your year. You can do this. Set some goals, become aware, and develop those skills and make yourself valuable, and let's create a win-win situation. Make sure you DM me on Instagram, Joseph.ONTRACC, on Telegram, Joseph.ONTRACC with 2 C's at the end. Let's get started. Have that conversation. I'll see you again in the next one.